Okay, welcome everyone. I'm going to get us started, and thank you all for braving the weather this morning to be here with us. I'm Karen Yunker. I'm the manager of our account management team. And first of all, I want you to know we have a number of resources in the room to help you out today. The first is, if you look at the blue shirt, I think we have the people at the front desk. We have Bill, who's in the back, getting to the door. No, Bill, just filed us. And so this is our account management team. And so any questions you have, they're here to help you. We've got members from our energy efficiency team here. We've got energy advisors here. So we've got a lot of people in the room to help you out. A few housekeeping things. The men's restrooms are through the back door over here. The women's bathrooms are through the front door you came in and down the hall. Should we have an emergency situation, look for your people in your blue shirts and follow them, if you would. Also, questions. In your packet for the people who are in the room, you have no cards. And I would encourage you to write your questions down as we go through. I'm going to ask you to hold your questions till the end. My hope is with the material that we've presented today that we're going to answer the majority of your questions that you have. But definitely, before you leave today, want to make sure that we get your questions answered. For those people, we have people joining us through a webinar today. For the webinar people, you can submit your questions throughout, and then at the end, we'll take those questions and answer those questions for you. Okay.
No, I had this problem earlier.
Okay, while they're working on that, I'm going to go ahead. What we're going to cover for you today, we're actually here to talk about a new program that is called the Peak Savings Program. And so we're going to tell you what that program is about, how this program benefits you, it benefits us, it benefits the communities, how you can participate, the resources that are available to you in participating, and then again at the end we'll take any questions that you may have. Even after we finish the workshop, we will be here in the room. Our energy efficiency experts will be here in the room. So if you have individual questions, whether they be about this program or anything else, we have the resources here to help you with those questions. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Kant. He is from our energy efficiency team, and he's going to talk about what the program is and the benefits.
Thanks, everybody, for being here this morning. It's a nice cold morning to make it down here to Leon Young, so you guys are awesome for braving the weather and coming in. We really appreciate it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what this program is. I work in our demand-side management group, so some of you have worked with me on custom rebates. We run our lighting rebates, our renewable rebates, and some of our other efficiency rebates through that section of the company. And those are kind of the traditional utility way of doing business for things on the customer side of the meter. And what we're going to talk about today is a really exciting kind of first step into a whole new space in how we work with customers around energy use. And so traditionally, our efficiency rebates have covered lights, air conditioners, things that are on all the time and happen to also be on at times that we really care about our system. So in the summer when the businesses are on and late afternoon when folks start to come home and turn things on, and we're kind of going crazy on our system, running as many generation plants as we can to cover everybody's need. This type of program is entering into a new type of product where you can participate in that and provide some flexibility and be compensated for that, instead of sort of the business as usual approach, which would be, as our demand goes up, we build more power plants, we build more infrastructure, we just kind of build the church for Easter Sunday, so to speak. So this product is this peak savings product is kind of a step in that direction. Right now we have a number of ways that we serve the peak demand that shows up in the summer. We have our self-generating units. We have hydroelectric power that we buy from the Western I can't say WAPA this morning, the Western Area Power Administration. And also, sometimes we have to purchase spot power on those really peak days, and that can be really expensive because it's whatever price the market will bear at those moments. So peak savings is a new class of incentives that are really targeted towards, instead of just savings all year long, savings right when they matter the most. And so there's a number of different technologies that are suited well to this type of this type of program, and Jacob's going to talk about those in a little bit. But really, by participating in this program, what you're doing is you're helping to be part of a solution to help us meet our system peak demand. And instead of buying that capacity somewhere else on the market or buying it by building things, we would like to buy it from you. It's more cost effective that way, and it keeps the benefit right here in the community. So, and really that's kind of what it's all about. So when we can do something for a less expensive option, it helps us to keep rates low for all of our customers. It helps us keep things reliable, and it helps us solve the issues that we have right here in our community. And just to give a little bit of context, we're right now in the in the stages. We're doing a lot of work around the eventual closure of the downtown Drake power plant. We're in the middle of a period of transition in the utility business where renewables are becoming more affordable, and we're going to see more intermittent generation on our system. And we're going to have to be a little more agile in terms of how we respond to these peak day events. And this product is really the start in a step of a new direction where you can be part of that solution and you can benefit financially for your business. So if you got an invitation to be here today, you're probably on one of our demand rates, and you may see it on your bill as an ETL or an EAT or acronyms that mean something to us but maybe not to you. Really what it means is you've got enough energy use, or your energy use is such that you have a KW charge on your bill. So instead of just charging you a straight cost per unit of energy that we sell you, you also have a portion that looks at how heavily you load the system at one time. And so really this is all about timing. So to participate in peak savings, you need to be on one of our demand rates. And we're really looking for, in order to make it worth everybody's time, yours and ours, for customers that can reduce a minimum of 5% of their electric load right during these key times. So really, those are the requirements to enroll, and pretty simple with that. So really, again, what we're trying to do here is to reduce this load during the peak times and have you help us with that. Now, that sounds great in theory. How do you get there? What kinds of things in your business may be appropriate for that? That's going to vary by every business. So you have some things in your business that day to day are kind of untouchable items that can't move. You have other items that maybe have a little bit of flexibility, and there may be things that you could change where people might not even notice what's there if you dim the lights a little bit or slow some fans down, if you have a control system that's capable of that. And we understand that can be kind of difficult to figure out what things might work in your business. So we've actually we've hired some energy advisors to come through and help you with that. And I would like to introduce one of those who's going to explain kind of some more technical details of the program. Jacob Nabe is here with us, and he's one of our energy advisors that will come out and walk through your facility and help you figure out how you might be a good fit for this program and really what kinds of things might work for your business.
Thanks, Gabe. Good morning, everybody. What I wanted to do first is just say a little something about safety. And I'm not on. Now, is that better? You can hear me better? Okay, so first thing I wanted to do is talk a little bit about safety. We like to do that here, safety oriented. So one of the things I do want to say is, you know, with the winter weather, I don't have to remind you all, probably, because you're from Colorado, or at least you've probably been here for a while enough to know if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. So just be careful out there driving, make sure you increase your following distance, and be careful when you get out of your car. So, you know, you don't slip and fall. So anyway, that's one thing I just wanted to say before I got going. So the first thing, I'll make sure this thing works. Okay, great. So what I wanted to do today was first thing, just talk a little bit about what is demand. So I don't, how many in here understand the difference between KW and KWH? Raise your hand. So some folks do. Okay. So for the folks that don't, for the folks that do, sorry, but for the folks that don't, I'm just going to give you a little primer here real quick. So KW, demand or power in electricity, is basically it's the instantaneous demand for the power, and it's measured in KW, kilowatts, okay? And there's this other, and synonymously or analogously, there's a term like for when you're driving your car to think about, which is what's the speed of your car. So KW is kind of like what's the speed of your car. And then KWH, a good way to think about that, that's the amount of usage that you have. So that's what's on your bill, your KWH. And what that does is that talks about if you take that demand over time, you look at this curve here, the stuff in green, that's your KWH. That purple line, that kind of represents that instantaneous demand that you have. And KWH is analogous to miles that you've driven. You know, so if you drive at a certain speed for a certain amount of time, you're going to get a certain distance. So that's really the way to think about KW and KWH. This program is primarily concerned with KW, or demand. So what I want to do now is kind of talk to you about some things that Gabe touched on, and that is, this is what the system peak, this is the actual data, this is what the system peak for Colorado Springs Utilities looks like. What this shows is it shows a couple of months, and this is an average. On the left side, that's megawatts, which is thousands of kilowatts. And then on the bottom, you have the months there. Over here, I've got these little icons, which represent like 100 megawatts each. So what we have to do as a utility is for those times when the demand is highest, even if it's just for a few minutes, so you have good power, we have to make sure we have the capacity to meet that instantaneous demand or load from all of you. So basically what we do is we have to build to that over 900 megawatts that we're hitting consistently. So what this program, the aim of this program is we're going to try to chop the top of that off, so we get rid of having to have, you know, that we don't really have 100 megawatt power plants, but in this case, that amount of generation. So if you see here, that's what we're trying to achieve. Towards the top there, you see how it flattens out. That's what we're trying to do with this program. So we're just looking at a few hours a year. There's about 40 hours a year that we hit this peak time. So to reduce the amount of capacity that we have to have available to all of you, we're trying to get your help in reducing that peak. Okay, so let me talk about the program now a little bit. So right now our program is funded 2019 through 2020. The plan is for this program to continue when it proves to be successful. Right now we're in the process of signing lots of folks up. So that's what we're doing right now. The program, the peak period for us, the summer peak, which also aligns with your bills, is April 1st through September 30th. The event times will start between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. and it's only going to be on Mondays through Fridays. There would not be any events. Now the events, those are the times when we're going to ask you to help us curtail that load, to reduce that demand. So to be eligible to be in this program, you have to be a business customer on a demand rate. And we know that all the folks that are on the phone and all of you out here in the audience should already be on a demand rate, because that's who we targeted our marketing at and tried to make sure that the people who are here would qualify for the program. The other thing we want to do is we want to be able to get at least 5% of your total peak from you. There's a couple reasons for that. One is that we want to make sure that it's worth it for you based on the amount of money you'll get from us in the incentive. The other thing is we want to make sure that it's high enough that we're able to consistently see how much energy you're reducing. So what you're going to get for that is $50 per kilowatt that you reduce. And that, what you're going to do is you're going to commit to a value, and it's this committed rate that you're going to get paid on. That's for the whole season. So that $50 per kilowatt, that's for the whole season. For the whole season, we could call up to 10 events, and these events could be up to 4 hours each. In addition to the events that we call, we will also have a test event. So in the process of signing you up, we'll talk about that later. In the process of signing you up, what we're going to do is we're going to test and make sure what we think that committed value is pretty close, because for you to participate in each event successfully, you need to hit 90% of whatever that committed rate is. And then there's a couple other things that we want to give you. And basically what this slide is saying here about the 10% is that if you have one event that you have to opt out of for some reason, or because you have some special event going on or something else, or you don't hit that number, basically what's going to happen is that'll mean a 10% reduction in how much money you'll get at the end of the year, for example. There's a couple other benefits from the program which I want to talk about, which I don't think are minor. The first one is that we're gonna come out, whether you sign up or not, if you're interested, we're going to come out and we're going to do a facility assessment for you. The main purpose of our facility assessment is to help you figure out which strategies are good for you and how much of a demand curtailment you should be able to do using your equipment with what you have, given your requirements. Our goal is not to make this where it's a comfort issue or a safety issue or any kind of process. We want you guys to be happy doing it at the level you're doing it, so you stay in the program. And we want to make sure that you're able to do this all the time so that it's reliable for us as the utility, so that we can depend on that curtailment. So that's the first thing I think is important. Along with that assessment, we're also going to look at energy efficiency opportunities. Our team here, Kaushik and Brian and myself, we all have a lot of experience out doing demand response and with energy efficiency. So we're used to what that is. We understand our energy efficiency rebate and things like that. We know the folks there. We sit in the same office, so we can put you in touch with them. We can talk about it intelligently, partly intelligently. So we will help you with that as well. The third thing I want to talk about, which is on the bottom up here, is the free online energy monitoring dashboard. So what we will do when you sign up is we will, you'll give us a couple of names of people you want to be contacted whenever there's an event. And then those people will be invited to share at this dashboard. You'll be given an invite. You'll sign up. You'll have your own password. And then basically what this dashboard will do is we'll load 23 months of data, previous data from whichever buildings or accounts or meters that you've got signed up. And what we'll do is we'll take that information, we'll load it on that site for you So you'll be able to view 5-minute interval data on a daily basis, both for KW and for KWH. And then you'll also be able to see this in a monthly view and for the last year, what you've done for the last year. So why is that important? Okay, so if you've done an energy efficiency measure upgrade in the past, one of the things you'll realize is that it's hard sometimes if you don't have measurement and verification or systems in place that watch it all the time for you. It's hard to see how much did we really save, right? What's great is you can download this information so you have a record of it over time, very detailed information, and you can look at it on the site and you can say, okay, even let's say you did something a year ago, you installed LED lights. Well, how much did it really save us? So you can look at that, data prior to that upgrade and then after that upgrade, and a lot of times you can see that in there. The other thing it can help you do is troubleshoot. If you're having high demand rate, high demand bills, and you're not quite sure what's causing it, it's going to tell you exactly what time of the day down to that 5-minute interval that you're getting that peak. So that's a great troubleshooting aid for you to be able to figure out how to improve and lower your demand costs. So this thing here is a bit of an eye chart. Can folks see this okay? And I think this is in the folder, the handout as well. So if you look there, basically what this is telling you is that on this chart here on the left, scenario 1, perfect participation, which all of you are going to get, right? So basically what this is saying, someone has committed to 50 kilowatts, okay? They achieved their reduction with at least 90% on every occasion, every time we call that event. Okay, so because they've done that each time, at the end of the season, we're going to either give you a bill credit or cut you a check, depending on what you prefer. You're going to get that for $2,500. You're going to get that $2,500 incentive, and that'll happen as long as you're in the program. If we don't call all 10 events, for some reason we just have a really mild summer, and we don't need to call events because we don't have really several hot days in a row kind of thing, then you're still going to get the $50 per kW. So it's on us to give you the incentive as long as you participate in all the events that we do call. So if we call 8 and you participate in them, you'll still get it all. If you miss a couple, like in this case, on number 8, you opted out because you had all your, let's say you had all your mucky mucks from out of town in the building and you're having lots of meetings and you didn't want to create any trouble or have any issues, you just didn't want to deal with it. And you missed it that day, and then you missed it one other day here, number 5, because you were low, right? Just a little bit low. Then basically what's going to happen is that will also not count, and so you'll miss that. One thing I do want to say is there is no kind of penalty. This is an all-carrot program. The only penalty is that you don't get paid if you don't participate. So as long as you participate, get that committed within 90% of that committed rate, you're going to get the payment. If you decide to stop the program, there's no penalty. You can walk away at any time if it's just not working for you. So we see this as important because it's more of an upside. There's nothing you got to worry about with that. We don't want to put that kind of pressure on you. You have enough. Okay, so what I want to do now is talk a little bit about the process. And that is, the first thing we would do is we would typically come out, have a time we'll meet with you, and you can sign up over here if you like at the end of the meeting, or contact if you have a account rep that is here in the room. You can sign up with us or online or later, give us a call. There's some information online, tells you where to sign up at the end of this. And basically you sign up for an initial meeting. That's when we're going to sit down. If you already understand the program, good. If you have questions, specific questions about how it works, we're happy to go into more detail with you on that. And basically that kind of gets things started. Then what we would do is if you're beyond that and you want to do it, you could even sign up today if you want for an assessment. So if you'd like to just you're good with where we're at now, you can sign up for an assessment today. And again, the two gents over there on the side, and I'll move over there after this. You can sign up with us to do that, or you can talk to your account managers to do that. What the next step is that assessment. Normally in the assessment, it's important to know we will need to have at the assessment the folks who, if you're manufacturing and you have processes, we need to know those folks who understand those processes in that assessment, because they're the ones who are going to be able to say, can I shift this? Is this a batch process? Or if you're folks who understand your building management system or understand your facilities better, they know this area is served by this piece of equipment and that area is served by that piece of equipment. And those kind of things, they know if you can turn down lighting, all the kind of things that we're going to look at to be able to reduce your demand. So the next step then is to complete and sign your enrollment agreement. When you do that, you'll get invited to that partner portal that we talked about, which is that web tool, and you'll be granted access to that. That'll kick off us requesting that data for you for the buildings you intend to enroll, and that's kind of what we'll do at that point. What's important about that is when you do the test, and anytime there's an event, we're going to give you the 24-hour notice of the event. That will come to you, that notice will come to you in 3 ways. You can get a voicemail call, a voice call. It's a recorded call. You can get an email, or you can get a text message, or you can get a combination of any of them for as many people as you want. So if it's going to take you 10 people to make that happen, I hope not, but if it's going to take you that, or you just, those are the people or your key people, you want to let them know that this is going to happen, then we will send that to who you want us to send that to. And then those people also will get the invite to participate and be able to look online and look at your energy use. So then what's going to happen now, before we actually put your final committed rate in, is we're going to do a test event. Normally what we're looking at like the April to May timeframe. We're going to wait for a little warmer day so your air conditioning is working and things like that. If we did it now, it would not reflect reality for most of your businesses on how you can curtail. So we're going to look for a warmer day. We're going to do a test event. And so we'll walk through that test event, and you'll be able to see that whole process. Getting the 24-hour notice, getting the notice 1 hour before that it's about to start, getting a notice saying we've just started, and then getting a notice when it's at the end of the event. So I just talked about this, I think. And then when we've done the test event, what we'll do is we may want to adjust that. We're going to make an educated guess. We're going to try to help you out, figure out how much you think you're reducing. But the test is really the kind of the best way to know exactly what you're going to get. And we may have to adjust it. The other thing I want to say here is that the first year of the program, we're going to be very flexible. So the first year you're in the program, not just the first year of the program, but the first year you're in the program, we're going to work with you. So if you are too low, let's say on the first event, we tested, you hit some value, and then you're not able to hit that, we'll actually give you credit for that lower value. You won't just get a miss, because we know for the first period of time, it's going to take a little bit to dial that in. You know, things change. The other thing we're going to have is we're going to have a test event then again once every year in the beginning of the season. The reason for that is we want to be able to provide you with a check. So if you have people that are involved, you haven't done it in several months, you've had a turnover in personnel, those kind of things, we realize that having that test event is very important to make sure you're ready to go for that next season. And then basically, once you've participated in your events through the season, towards the end of the year then, you will get the, did my mic go out? The light's on. Maybe just hand me a mic, yeah. I'll still try to, can people still hear me in the room? Okay. All right. So basically, then at the end of the year, you'll basically get your incentive. All right, so basically, then at the end of the year, you'll receive the annual incentive. And like I said, that can either be a bill credit or it can be a check, whatever works for you. Some folks will take this money and put it back into maybe energy efficiency measures or something else, some other fund they want to fund. So that's one of the things we'll do. Thank you. Can you hear me better now? Okay. So now what I wanted to show you a little bit, and you can't, I think there's a handout in here, and I don't know how well you can see it, but this is what the partner portal looks like, so you know. So you're able to actually look at per meter. So if you have multiple meters, you can look at each meter individually, or you can look at multiple meters. But basically, you'll select which meter you want. You'll select which day, month, year. You can look at it any way you want. Again, you can download this. There's a link. You can download this data. It'll come in an Excel file, and so or a CSV file, I think it is, which is a comma delimited file. But basically, you can download it in that. So I think this is really good because it's going to give you a lot of information. I don't know how many of you here have systems that do this already. Just a handful, right? So I think for most of you, this should be a very helpful tool. And even for the folks that have these systems, this might give you more data than you have now, going for a longer period of time. Okay, so then once you've participated in an event, what we're going to have here, this was from one of the Colorado Springs Utilities facilities, and we did a test event this last summer. And so this is actual data from that event. You're going to get a report. This is what the screen looks like, but you can also, as you can see, you can download a PDF of this. And so then there's a PDF version you download. And so you can have a record, if you need it, of how you did each event. And in this event, they averaged, it doesn't say it here, but they averaged 10 kW of reduction through the event. So what I wanted to do now is really kind of let's talk a little bit about some of what we found out. We tried to have a few case studies here, or at least a focus on some specific types of businesses here. So first one we brought in here was manufacturing. So we've already met with a few manufacturers, and we've worked with them to try to save some energy for them and help them participate in the program. And one of the first things you want to think about if you are in assembly or you have manufacturing processes is your just-in-time processes, your non-interruptible processes, in other words, or your batch processes. This can also work for folks who might have ancillary processes at their business. Let's say you have a restaurant, you have a laundry, something like that, where you have some process that's different, but you might be able to like shift when you do that process on these days. And that's what this is. So if let's say I have to plate a bunch of screwdrivers, let's say. So if I'm plating a bunch of screwdrivers, chrome plating them, what I have to do anyway is I have to wait to have enough of these prepared before I stick them in my plating plant. So if you can just move that, shift that for those 4 hours, that whole time, you can save that during the event and just move it before or after. So that's a good example of that. But there's a lot of things that you can, and there's a list up here. I don't read them all. But then the other thing you can do is you can reduce the output, or you can shut down equipment that you don't absolutely need. One thing a lot of people don't think about is if you have a lot of battery charging, you have electric forklifts, you have ice machines, anything like that, you can actually shut those down so they're not operating during the peak demand event. So maybe you normally charge them then, but just during these events, you just shift that charging. The other thing that we typically will do is in a lot of manufacturing, we'll have makeup air, cooling, exhaust fans. There's lots of different things that we can do. If there's refrigeration or freezers, what you might be able to do is turn off the anti-frost strips in your freezers, and that also can save energy. And then basically turning off or dimming any essential lighting. One of the big problems for us usually with finding lighting measures is that you may not have very good control. A lot of times your HVAC equipment, your heating ventilation equipment will be on a building management system, so then you just put a schedule in. It's a lot simpler to handle these events, but with lighting sometimes it's harder. If you have lighting control, that's very helpful. So another kind of case study, we've done this with a lot of offices. I think offices have been the type of facility we've done the most, where we've looked at demand response. And the main measure that we typically get is increasing cooling set points. And that may sound bad, but let me kind of tell you the way we typically do it. So if we knew our event's going to be 3 to 7, which by the way is a very common time for these events to happen, what we would do is if you have a BMS, we would put a schedule in your building management system. And what we would do is about 1 o'clock, we would take maybe what's a 72-degree set point. We'd bring it down to about 70 degrees over a couple hours preceding. And then when the event starts, you're a little bit lower. We raise your temperature up to maybe 76, something that you're still okay with. And then you let the building float through that period without any mechanical cooling for those spaces that you can do this in. So, and then at the end, instead of like setting it back down to 72, we'll step it back down. The other thing that may happen is, because these are typically going to be towards the end of the day, especially in offices, folks are starting to go home. You don't have to worry about recovering right away at the end of the day, and you can slowly bring that temperature back down, or even let it go right into your unoccupied schedule where it is allowed to float quite a bit higher. So those are the kind of things we see. We also can reduce or shut down makeup air. It's great if you have variable speed drives, because that gives us a lot more ability to do that. The other thing is, if you have demand control ventilation, you'll know what I'm talking about if you have that. You can really keep those outdoor air dampers closed off at minimum if you don't need them. That will save you on cooling as well. You can turn off or dim non-essential lighting. Non-essential lighting, if you're not sure what that means, that can be signage, which you don't need because it's still daylight. You don't have to have it. Or, you know, when you come into a big building and you see those things that spread light on your ceiling or on your walls, that's accent lighting, or people call it in the biz wall washers or ceiling washers. A lot of those you can actually shut off during those periods because they're not essential. They would give it more of a cave look. That's why they're there, not to do that. But those types of things in those 4-hour periods are non-essential. You might be able to do it. Along with back of house, you might be able to go down to your emergency lighting. Depends on your control. Okay, so then the other thing is really, if you're going to have activities, right, training activities, meetings, anything that you would have that would require more energy, is shifting those around these peak periods. That's another strategy that we have. If you look in your folder, do that right now. If you look in your folder, you'll see this guy right here. And if you want to, you can kind of follow along as I'm talking. And this gives you several different areas for types of businesses, and it shows a lot of the different types of demand strategies that we've been able to use in a little more detail. The thing is when we come out and meet with you in that assessment, this is what we'll do. We'll go through this with you. We'll walk around the facility. We'll identify things. And we'll talk to you in more detail for each of you about what items may work for you. Remember, we want you to stay in this program for the long term. So we're not going to push you and say, oh, you should do this, you should do this, when you're not willing to do that. It doesn't make any sense for us. We want you to get in the program, be happy with what you're able to curtail without affecting your business. You understand your business is the key thing here, not our program. So that's what I want to say right up front. That's the way we're going to approach this. So the next one here is case study, retail grocery. So here, these are where those anti-sweat or anti-freeze heaters, if you have lots of refrigeration units, that may work for you to shut those off during that period. The other thing you can do sometimes is if you have big walk-ins, you might be able to pull stuff out of it before and then after the event and kind of make sure you stay out of there and let them ride through the events. Also, same thing, reducing, shutting down makeup air, turning off non-essential lights. The other thing that's worked for some of our partners, and I'm working on this program, I've worked on several other programs around the country. One of the things that's worked for a lot of the customers that I've had over the years is that they get either their employees and or sometimes even their customers involved, let them know what they're doing, let them know that they're doing this for the community, and that, you know, it's helping community, and by you being here, you know this is going on, especially if you think they might notice it. So that's important for those folks who think that, well, maybe folks won't want to, you know, be subject to whatever this is, right, that you're going to reduce whatever they might see. So I talked about a lot of these, and I'm not going to go through this. I think we'll keep going here, and you can see a lot of these in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Karen. And Karen?
Okay, and I'm not going to let Jacob get too far away from us here.
Yeah.
So now we'd like to know what type of questions you have. There are a couple of ways. We have a person with a hand here, but you also have your note card. So if you've written down questions on your note card and you just want to hand your note card to one of the account managers, we can do it that way. Or just as our individual back here did, you can put up your hand, stand up, we'll get a microphone to you, and you can ask your question. So we have a question right out here already.
Just want to clarify, I think I got it from the graph. When we're comparing this peak and how much we're reducing it to previous years, what's the baseline?
Okay, so that's a good question. So the question for the folks online who may not have heard that, because we have them on the phone here, so I'll repeat it. So basically it is, what is basically the baseline? How do we determine what your savings are going to be based on, right? So that's a very good question, and actually we have some slides. I'll try not to spend a lot of time on this, but go through this fairly quickly. So what we do is we look at the highest peak of the previous 20 days, Monday through Friday, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the same time period that we have the event for those previous 20 days. We find the 5 highest peak days. We take those values and we average them. That's what we start with. That's called a 5 of 20 baseline. Okay? And this kind of illustrates what we do. We look for those days on here. We average that up. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at how you performed on that specific day. This is done after your incentive is calculated after the event. So what we'll do is we'll look at the actual data on that day. We'll look at it 180 minutes before, 120 minutes after that event. And what we're going to do is if that's a hot day, which is typically it's going to be hotter, maybe hotter than all the previous days. So what will happen is we'll look at that and we can adjust that up or down by 20% based on what's happening. Also, there may be a change in your business for that day. Maybe you have a bunch of people there, maybe it's not that much hotter, but you've got a lot of people there, or you've got more stuff going on, or you have less stuff going on. So what that allows us to do is actually really make it honest, right? This is really what the situation is. The other thing it captures sometimes is you're doing pre-cooling, it'll capture that energy use in your pre-cooling, so that, you know, that might shift it up a little bit, right? And the idea of this, though, is to make it as fair for you without allowing people to game the program. That's really why we do it this way. And these are well-proven methodologies that have been used for over a decade, so all across the industry. Hope that answered your question.
Okay, what other questions do we have? And again, for the people who are online, you can also submit your questions online, and we'll get those answered for you. So I think we had.
Do we have any online? Man, I can't believe it. That's okay. So, go ahead.
I think you answered this before, but if we have multiple accounts, can you look at an aggregated?
Yes. So the question is, for those folks online, is if you have multiple accounts, multiple buildings maybe, or whatever, can we aggregate those? So that's a very good question, and the answer is yes. So let's say you have 4 different business locations in town, and you want to sign them up. And what we'll do is, if you can sign up 1, you can sign 2, 3, all of them if you want. And what we'll do is we'll aggregate those in the system. And so that 5% minimum, that will be 5% of the aggregated demand for all of the ones that you sign up. So, and it could even be that you have multiple meters in a building or multiple accounts in a building. So we get every situation you can imagine, we get it. Trust us, right? Here. So basically any of those situations we should be able to handle for you, and then we would be able to do it based on that. And then it's really, you have to hit at least the 5% of that. And so the differentiation is the data that you look at is more by meter, but when you look at how you performed on the event, that's where we aggregate. So what you'll be able to see is if you decide to aggregate 3 accounts, let's say, to get to your number, that's what you'll see when you look at your how did I do in that event. Okay.
Okay, good question. I know there have to be more questions out there. Any questions you wrote down that you want to hand in to us?
Okay.
Okay.
Nothing online, Coach? Okay.
Okay. Well, definitely our team is here to answer any specific questions that you may have for your business. A couple of next steps for you then. First of all, a couple of scenarios that you may have. One scenario is you may say, I need to take this information back to my business, back to other people within the organization to get a decision. And so we actually are going to give you a resource of a video that just talks about what the program is that you can use to explain the program to any people within your organization that you may need to involve in the decision process. The other piece is that, again, at our table over here, we have our energy advisors. So if you have individual questions for them, if you're ready to get signed up to do a walkthrough, you can do that today. Again, if at any point, if you decide you're ready for that, you can contact your account manager. We're going to give you some contact information at the end. Contact us at any point to get that set up. The other thing that we would like is for the people who are here, in your packet, you're going to find a survey form. We would really like and appreciate your feedback. And so if you could complete that survey, for the people who have joined us through the webinar, we're going to email that survey. For the people who have completed the survey, we're going to have a drawing once we get them back, and a chance for you to win a Nest thermostat. So again, please take the time to complete that survey. And leave the room, please take advantage of any of our experts that are here today, even if it's not about the program. Even if you have a billing question, you have something else going on, you have questions about our rebate programs, those people are here today to help get those questions answered for you. So again, there's the contact information. We have a number for our peak savings program. We have a website and that you can go to, an email address. Your business account manager is also here to help you. So with that, thank you for joining us today, and we hope you'll take advantage of this opportunity.